last night's Dynamite, last night's NXT, and Tuesday night's Impact Wrestling. All that and so much more, including your comments, as we are live not only on Fight TV, but also across our social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. The Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time starts right up in here now on Fight TV. Welcome, everyone, to the Pro Wrestling Report, the longest-running professional wrestling news and opinion show in the history of broadcasting. And welcome to Fight TV, F-I-T-E. Welcome to YouTube. Welcome to Twitter. Welcome to Facebook. And welcome to Twitch. I'm Damian Nelson, coming to you here from the PWR studios, and I am joined by our analysts who know more about wrestling than I ever will pretend to. Firstly, please welcome one David Octavius, the Tiberius the Alleged, Backyard, Knockout, Straight Edge, Hardcore, Hall of Famer, MAGA Marching Hero, and the superstar of the Super Show, the man who, well, surprised us all this past weekend at Full Gear, Hurricane Helms. Boys, how the hell y'all doing here on a Thursday night?
Dave, you first.
Well, I'm doing great, but I'm not marching. If anything, I'm kind of complaining because Be the Booker last week, we had no idea that the Hurricane was going to be in that match.
Hey, listen, here's what I got to say to your complaint.
Here we go. Oh, that's fantastic. That is tremendous. Gentlemen, we want to welcome all of you watching us live on our social media,
Thursday?
Fight TV, and we also want to welcome you to participate. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Periscope or Twitch, anywhere socially, just simply comment on the live broadcast. Your comments will come to the control center here. I will see them. Shane will see them. Dave will ignore them, and we will discuss. What it is you all have to say. But I want you to take just a moment. Do me a favor. If you're watching us live on any of our socials, go ahead and retweet. Go ahead and like. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and socialize here with us on the broadcast so that everyone, the world, can find we're the only Wrestling Weekly show with a superstar that appeared on Full Gear is broadcasting here live on Fight TV. So, Shane, you know what? Without further ado, we got to get right to it. You did not tell us. That we were going to see a Hurricane resurrected as part of the deletion, the ultimate, what deletion was it? One of the deletions on Full Gear, and that matchup between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, and that smirk on your face is seemingly one of appreciation and excitement for getting one over on us and every wrestling fan out there. Shane, how did it come to be, and how was it being a part of that?
Well, see, there's only one way to keep it secret, especially in this business. Don't tell nobody. That's how that shit works. Just like I did in the Rumble with WWE, I thought it would be better if I kept it that secret close to my chest, close to the vest as best I could. And I thought that was going to be the best thing to do with Full Gear as well. And I think it worked out well. If you listen to the playback, even with the diminished crowd because of the COVID restrictions, when I popped up on screen, you could hear the crowd. A couple people that were at the event sent me messages, both from fans and from people within the AEW locker room about the reaction in the audience when I popped up. So I'm very appreciative of it, very appreciative of the opportunity. And as I posted this week, WCW, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, AEW. It's a nice little resume I've built for my silly ass self over this.
Where haven't you
years. There's very little place, I mean, I worked in Japan too with IGF. Lucha Libre USA had a good little run on MTV too. So anywhere the wind blows, the hurricane goes. I need to write that down. That's pretty good. That's a good one.
Let me refresh.
Remember, when do y'all remember that for me?
Anywhere the wind goes,
Wind
Anywhere the wind
blows.
blows.
It's
Anywhere
about
the wind
blows.
blows, the hurricane goes.
Goes.
Don't
Okay.
forget the blows part.
Goes. Blows. Wind. Well, Shane, it was great seeing you as part of the AEW Full Gear event this past Saturday on pay-per-view. And, you know, there are a few who are saying anything bad about the event overall. Now, we, of course, did be the booker last week. We went ahead and said and shared with the world how each of you would book the show. And we're going to review those results as we talk about the card that was. But some shocking match results as part of Full Gear this past Saturday night, including 2 championships changing hands. And I got to say, as we frame this conversation, that's one of the good things about AEW is predictability is not something they've been accused of. And that is, as you just talked about a moment ago, Shane, the surprise factor, the unknown element is great in professional wrestling. And it was personified this past Saturday as part of Full Gear from AEW.
But you know what, though? But with that being said, AEW got some of the matches wrong. They should have listened to Shane and myself.
I can't wait to hear your hatred for Orange Cassidy, your hatred for Darby Allin, your hatred.
Whoa, pump the brakes there, Tiger. Shane and I picked Orange Cassidy to win.
That doesn't mean you still won't hate him.
You know what? He did great.
Well, let's get down to it. Let's talk about the matches as they were. So let's start with that matchup. It was Orange Cassidy one-on-one with John Silver. Both of you did book Orange Cassidy to win that matchup. But real quick, so a rapid fire, starting with you, Dave, your thoughts on the match overall.
I thought John Silver became the bigger star of the two after that match was all said and done. And he's even shorter, smaller than Orange Cassidy. Who would have thought?
There it is. You had to go right to the size.
No. What I'm saying is I'm giving him credit, and you can't use that sizist thing against me.
Well, you are a sizist. It's okay. I accept you for what you are, Dave.
Well, sweet. But John Silver was awesome. I think he may have stolen 3/4 of that show.
You know, I think AEW has done a great job over the last few weeks of showing us how great John Silver is, breaking out of the Dark Order, if you will. And this was potentially his breakout match because a lot of people noticed him, as you mentioned, Dave. But Shane, what did you think of this matchup between Cassidy and Silver?
I thought it was a good match. You know, I would like to see John Silver be more of a buzzsaw, get a little bit more intensity. I thought in the beginning there was a little hokiness in how he was playing off of Orange Cassidy. I think John Silver has the potential to be a Dynamite Kid, to be a to be somebody, somebody that was smaller, but because of their intensity and their physical presence, can really step up their game. I think he was having almost too much fun out there at some point. I think he needs to be a little bit more serious. You know, you got Orange Cassidy, you got all the character in the world right now. Let him do his thing. Be a little ass kicker, and I think that's going to go well for him. But I mean, he's got a ton of in-ring talent and athletic gifts. Because I mean, he's a little badass, and I thought they really did good.
I could see him channeling like his inner Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer if he really wanted to. Same kind of stocky build, real explosive.
Eric Young's Buzz Sawyer.
Yeah.
We've already got a Buzz Sawyer, but we need a new Dynamite Kid. And that could be John Silver, I think.
A fascinating comparison. Gentlemen, let's back up a little bit and go back to the buy-in where we saw Serena Deeb retain the NWA Women's Championship. Probably not a surprise there, defeating Allysin Kay, but she did so by submission, Shane.
Yeah, it was good. I like the match. I like both of those women a lot. They're both very talented. I still feel we haven't seen the best of Allysin Kay. I still think that there's so much more to her. I feel like sometimes she holds back a little bit. She's got such a physical presence. I would have liked to seen her beat Deebs up a little bit more in that match because I feel like she could be a Vader. She could be a Brock Lesnar in that women's division.
Brock Lesnar, you're making a lot of big, bold comparisons tonight. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to compare her to somebody nobody knows. That won't work out too well. But, I didn't feel a lot of jeopardy for Deebs. You know what I mean? I didn't feel that. And I know that Allysin Kay, I know that she can be a killer. She's got an MMA background. She's a physical human being. She could be a stud. I want to see that killer come out. But I like what they did, and then bringing back out Thunder Rosa, who's, she's built more for herself in the last 2 years than any non-signed talent that there's been. And luckily, I mean, now that she is, but 2 years ago, nobody really knew Thunder Rosa. She's had and she's done a lot of that herself. A lot of the work she's built in her name, she's done herself. So I'm glad to see her back in the mix too.
Dave, both of you picked Serena Deeb to win this matchup. Your thoughts on what occurred on the buy-in?
You know what? I liked it. I'm a big fan of Serena Deeb. I'm a big fan of Allysin Kay. I actually think that was a better women's match than we saw on the main show.
Agreed.
Just my opinion.
I agree.
And that's sort of what you want to do on the buy-in, right? Because you're trying to get people to buy in. So presenting some great action is the way to go.
I'm a big fan of putting a strong match on that buy-in. Don't put the one that doesn't make the pay-per-view. Make that buy-in match a badass match. Make people want to see it. If the preview for the movie sucks, I'm probably not going to go see that movie. Make that buy-in a banger. Make it a banger.
So next up, gentlemen, was the World Championship Eliminator Tournament final matchup. Kenny Omega getting the win by pinfall over his former partner, Hangman Adam Page. Dave, what did you think of this matchup where you, Dave, picked Kenny Omega for the win?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything I thought it was going to be. They threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at each other. There's a lot of action, it was all over the place. I mean, for the opening match, it's like I felt bad for the rest of the show. It's like, how are they going to top all that? Because they did so much in, 12 to 15 minutes, I think it was. But Adam Page, I think, is the real star coming out of that match. Just a lot of the stuff that I saw him do was solid. It just seemed like he had more psychology in the things he was doing. But, Kenny Omega needs this right now. They give him the new entrance. They give him the big entrance. They give him the girls with brooms. Of course, it had to be Kenny Omega.
Doesn't that make them witches?
I think so. Yeah. Or brujas, I think, is the proper terminology for it, but who knows?
Shane, you would have booked, at least according to my notes, Adam Page to win this matchup. It didn't turn out that way, but what did you think of this ultra physical contest?
I thought I picked Kenny, but if you say I picked Adam, if I picked Adam, I might have just been trying to be interesting. But
wait, hold on. Can we get a recount, please? A recount of
we need
the Omega Page match. A recount, please. Certified. Let me know. Thank you. Go ahead, Trey.
Half the time I can't remember what the hell I say anyway. So I'm fine with this. I think Kenny Omega is the best in the world right now. So
best in the world.
Yeah. I think he's been the best in the world for a while. Pound for pound, he's the best in-ring performer going. So I like it. I see him being the AEW champion at some point. I see Adam Page being the AEW champion at some point. And AEW is starting off with this match on a pay-per-view, first match on a pay-per-view. They set a tone. They set a tone. We're not going to put the brakes on. We're going to go full speed ahead this entire pay-per-view. And it sent a message to the rest of the card, too. You're going to have to step up. If you got to follow Kenny Omega and Adam Page, you better bring your damn A game. And so, and they did, And, I applaud them for it. I loved it. I loved the finish. Kenny Omega looked great winning. Adam Page looked great losing. So I don't think either guy was hurt by it. It could have went the other way, and either guy still would have looked good. So that was 2 stars of the business right now.
And we would see later on Adam Page look good again subtly after another matchup ended. But I want to welcome everybody who's watching us on social. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. I'm Damian Nelson along with Shane Helms and Dave Hero. I want to welcome again those of you watching us on social. We're on Facebook where James Weow is watching. We're also on YouTube where Rostafa Pasim Razik, Gabe 606, Batman Beyond 23. Want to find Batman Beyond? What are you cooking tonight? Because maybe Dave's hungry. You might stop over for dinner. You say you're cooking while watching the show, and many more joining us.
I'm social distancing. I'm not going to no stranger's house, especially some guy named Batman.
It's not a stranger.
With his young ward and his aunt, not a chance. Nope.
So the next match we're going to talk about, gentlemen, is another match where both of you were, well, a bit off, if you will, in picking the winner, at least booking the winner. So I'm intrigued to hear why you either enjoyed or did not enjoy the matchup and why AEW going in a different direction, how it struck you, rather. So it was Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes. It was for the AEW TNT Championship, one that Cody just won back recently. Well, Cody, who's now Cody Rhodes, after now getting the rights to use his name back, as we saw on Dynamite last night, well, he lost via pinfall to Darby Allin. And some would say Darby Allin didn't beat Cody as much as Cody beat Darby Allin. The two would come together on AEW Dynamite, a bit of a union form there. But on this night, for Full Gear, Darby Allin wins the AEW TNT Championship, Dave.
It was an interesting match to watch.
That pause right there. That pause. Right there. Did you see that saying? Did you see that? He hates Darby.
Hey, listen, I gotta get a clock. I gotta keep this tight. All right, so don't distract me here. Cody wrestled more like a heel during that match than he did a babyface, right? He was pretty aggressive, but as a champion, you know, he wants to defend his title. I just don't understand the finish of the match. It's like they did so much, first of all. I mean, that crossroads off the top roads should have beat everybody on the card except Darby Allin. But I don't know. It was a good match. It was a solid match. It was a physical match. But the finish for me is like, if Cody is going to lose, why wouldn't he lose to Darby's finish as opposed to a roll-up? That was, you know, the one thing I didn't understand. But, I mean, maybe Shane can explain it better than I can, because I was watching it and I watched it a second time. And I'm like, and then, you know, Cody's, you know, wrestling like the heel, very aggressive, whatever else, then drops to a knee like he's proposing and handing him the title. Just emotions all over the place in that match.
You know, Dave, it's you that taught me, before we get to your analysis, Shane, it's you that taught me that sometimes a person beats themselves. And Cody got arrogant. Cody got cocky. Cody, you know, took opportunities where he could have won the match and didn't, thus opening the door for Darby Allin. I thought it was a tremendous story told, not just because I am a tremendous fan of Darby Allin, but I was surprised by this. We talked about before we went into the show, surprising finishes, surprising results of the matches. This is one of them, because I think Cody could have run with that TNT Championship for a much longer time, and they did set the stage for us to believe that that would be the case, even though it were not, Shane.
Yeah, and if you recall, I did throw the caveat last week about maybe that this is the championship, much like WCW did with the Cruiserweight title, that this is the championship that could change the hands most frequently. You know, keep that title a little hot, if you recall that. So I'm not opposed to Darby Allin winning with a wrestling hold. That wasn't his finish. I'm not opposed to that at all. You know, Ric Flair won the world title with a roll-up. You know, Davey Boy Smith beat in one of his, and maybe in his actual best match, beat Bret Hart with just a stuff cradle. So it happens. I'm not opposed to that. The kneeling at the end, handing the belt to Darby, that was a little odd, but Cody does his thing. Cody is as unique a performer as there is in the business right now. You know, and he has that luxury due to his, stature in the company. But I really loved the match. I thought both guys looked great. And yeah, I mean, my prediction was that it would probably be Cody, but I'm not upset. And now, as it stands right now, Darby Allin is at least half the face of the company.
So, gentlemen, what I want to do, great analysis, Shane. What I want to do.
No pop for that half face joke?
Oh, I get it now. Like the guy from Batman.
Well, hold on a second. But
that was a grenade joke. Let me pull the pin and then throw it.
Let's talk about the details of even the match after that. Cody comes out with 17 people, right? His brother, QT, Arn Anderson, some guys I don't know in the Gun Club. After the match, Cody and Darby get beat down, and none of them are anywhere to be found to come and save Cody.
So what I want to do, I'm glad you make that point, Dave. What I want to do is, in the interest of time here, roll in discussions about yesterday's Dynamite, because what we saw was that union formed between Darby Allin and Cody after Cody was confronted by a new face in AEW, that of Jade Cargill. And first, before we get to how that evolved, I want to get both your thoughts on Jade's performance and her confronting Cody on Dynamite last night, Shane.
I'm a fan. I'm not even sure who it is.
Oh, really? I wondered where she came from. She looked amazing, by the way.
I seen pictures of her just because she did a cosplay of as Storm. So that's where I knew her from. I don't know what.
Sense.
She's a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't know who this was, and outside of that, and I didn't know what the story was, but I thought she did a great delivery on a promo. You know, she was new, but as far as for somebody being new, she did good, and I mean, I enjoyed her presence, and she definitely has a presence about her. So I'm a fan.
Jade Cargill, your thoughts?
I thought she was great for someone that I've never seen on TV before. She comes from the physique and bodybuilding world. The way she held her own, the way she owned the stage was believable. You know, I thought she did a great job.
Really? No, this is fascinating. So again, to frame this up for everybody watching, I'm the fan.
Mm-hmm.
Shane's the promoter. I'm sorry, Shane's the worker. He's the producer. Dave, you're the booker. And you guys, again, know more than me, but watching just from a fan's perspective, I had to do one of these numbers during her talking. It
went long. It went long. For sure.
Yeah,
sure. It was definitely long. But for somebody coming out there that I don't know who it is, that is kind of what kept me there, because I was sitting there going, do I know this person? Like I said, I couldn't recall the Storm picture right away. And I was just like, where do I know this person from? And then, like, I feel like I watch enough wrestling that I know everybody. So I'm like, do I know it from somewhere?
Well, you've been everywhere.
I've been around the world, and but
yes.
But I thought she did good. It could have been a little shorter, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I don't know. I still thought she did. I thought she did good. I mean, keep in mind the jitters she had to have had.
Yeah,
first time going out there, live television. I've seen a lot worse from way more experienced people. So I'm gonna give her.
She looked like $1 million. I mean, she looked like a star.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the introduction to a television show, I thought she did great.
Okay.
I'm not too sure if I'm ready to watch her and Brandy have a match yet, but you know.
Well, I'm not sure I'm ready to watch Shaq have a match, but if that's what we're going, I'm gonna be there.
That would be the payoff. Jade would announce that there's a giant who wants to step into, challenge Cody, and that giant being Shaquille O'Neal. That fell a little flat when she mentioned it. Now, I respect the fact that there's a limited audience there, but it fell a little flat. And after that, talking about a little long, it took a long time for Brandy Rhodes to come out and defend her man's honor. But when she did, oh, my damn. That was some of the best stuff I have seen in 2020 on wrestling. She went ethnic on Jade Cargill.
Yeah, I feel like, too, if she would have said Shaquille O'Neal, it would have got a better pop. I think just going with Shaq, there was a moment of, wait a minute, does she mean Shaquille O'Neal?
Right.
No, I felt like that was that. Like, I feel like that was a moment, Shaquille. Like, if you say Shaquille, I know exactly who you're talking about.
My cousin.
So, but when Brandy came out there, Brandy lit it up, you know, and that was a good fiery side of Brandy. So,
let me see if I can do something here. Let me know if you guys hear this, because it was so great. I do want to share it with the world because, all right, I was watching AEW last night and I was into it, but I wasn't totally into it. And this happened and it had gone long, and I'm like, who is this woman? And the Shaq thing fell flat. And then Brandy comes out, and you could tell by the look on her face, something good was about to happen. And she just laid into her. The only word missing from her promo was sadiddy. But she used trifling, she used heifer, she used everything that I had heard in many of my family squabbles as I was growing up, and it was fantastic. So I want to see if we can hear it. We can't play it, but I want to see if we can hear it. So let me know if you guys can hear it. It's 1:07, so it's not terribly long, Dave. And Dave, I know you may not have seen it in your clips you watched this afternoon, and you're hating this already, but I do want to play it and see if we can hear it. So give me.
I'm just watching the clock. That's all. You know.
Indulge me for a second. You notice we rolled AEW into the. Let me produce. Let you show up without notes. Okay, that's what you do here. So hold on. Let me see if I can. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Who the hell told you tonight was open mic night, bitch? Your dizzy ass up here looking real confused. So let me spell this out for you. You up in my house, smacking your gums at my man, and now you my problem.
Great.
I'm gonna make this real easy for you. Don't you ever talk to him like that again. Don't you even look at him. And you know what else you can do? You can take your ratchet, trifling ass right up off my stage and do not come back unless I send for you. Do you understand me, heifer?
Yes.
Good. Great. Cool. Bitch, get your ass out of here.
God bless Jerry Lynn. Thank God he was there.
Jerry Lynn would come out to do the separation after Jade would smack Brandy on the behind. But man, oh man alive, I tell you, again, it took long to get there, but when we got there, this shook me. It was fantastic. It really, really was.
You got Ratchet in there too.
Right. And she checked almost all the boxes.
Yeah.
But here's what's great about it. We've seen Brandy be the company woman, right? We've seen her be Cody's husband or Cody's wife, but we've never seen her with that much emotion. And it was real, it was felt, and it was perfectly distributed or perfectly done on the show. It was excellent. And Dave, by the look of your face, on your face, you seem to be able to find a reason to not like this as well. What's wrong?
No. Listen, I thought it was very entertaining. I just think Brandy has almost become the Lex Luger of AEW. She's had more babyface and heel turns than anybody else in the company. But I mean, it's going to make for good TV if the two of them can have the verbal sparring back and forth, but slowly build to a match if that's what they want to do.
How is this a babyface or a heel turn? This was emotionally driven because her man was being challenged.
Oh, she was with another group that was cutting girls' hair before, right?
There's a little inconsistency in how they portray her or how they want the fans to perceive her, which is equally important. But at least this makes sense. This makes sense. She's coming out there. You're going to talk shit to Cody. Well, you're gonna have to deal with Brandy. So
I loved how Cody just stood there and just like, well,
that's what you do when your woman is
going
to fight somebody's ass. Hey, that's on you. You made that bed. I'm gonna be back here. That's what happens.
Yeah, that to me was the best part. Was watching his body language. He's like, oh shit, here we go.
You done woke her up. You know what it reminds me of? You remember the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? And I think it was the aunt at one point. I can't find this episode, and I've looked for it for a long time, but she got upset, and it was the same thing. She's, prim, proper, and she said to someone else, "Don't let me have to get ethnic on you." And it was just, I guess I'll say this. I didn't know Brandy had it in her, but I thought she did, and I was happy to see it. And what it does now, as you talk about some inconsistencies, it frames now this Shaq, Cody, Brandy, Jade situation, and now they all have a reason to not like each other, right?
But is Shaq going to be the heel? That's the weird thing for me.
No, Shaq, I don't think Shaq will be the heel, but Cody's the one that can adapt. Cody will adapt, just like he does with everybody. When he needs to be the babyface, he's the babyface. When he needs to take a little bit more of an edgier heel role, like he did with Darby, he can do that. That's been kind of his thing so far. So whatever they need, Cody will adapt to it.
And I will say this, Cody and Brandy both looked like $1.5 million last night on Dynamite, and Jade, Cargill as well. That's 3 superstars, at least in their presentation, standing in that ring. You add Shaq to the mix. This is huge. I go back to, and again, I'll keep it short, Dave, because I know you have somewhere to be in the interest of time, but I go back to the turning point in the Monday Night Wars, which I think was April of 1998, when WWE brought Tyson in as part of WrestleMania. And it wasn't until later that month after WrestleMania that the 83-week streak of Nitro beating Raw in the ratings ended. But I really think that Tyson being the spice to the Austin McMahon HBK situation is what got enough mainstream attention to make people say, oh, wait a minute, what's going on over here on WWE? You think of Shaq, who's obviously part of the TNT NBA coverage. It's a natural blend, right? He's been in wrestling situations before. This could be rather substantial for AEW, even though I will caveat it with this. I think they sort of dropped the ball, not their fault, but the ball was dropped on the Tyson situation, going back to what I mentioned before, because that all happened at the before COVID, right?
Right.
So, and now Tyson has a fight, so I'm not sure they know where that's going to end, but it's still sort of hanging out there. This has a lot of potential, Shane, to be big for AEW. Will it be a turning point and they'll start overtaking, the machine WWE? Probably not, but will it be a turning point? I think so for the company.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help. There's no way it hurts. It's going to help for sure. I think when the casual fan hears that Shaquille O'Neal is going to be in a wrestling ring, they're going to want to tune in for that. I know I will for sure.
Well, and plus, let's not forget the NBA.
I mean, it might not be a technical barn burner. It might not, but who knows?
Well, and also with the NBA starting up again soon, TNT is going to get behind this humongously because it's two of their bigger stars that they can push. And now that Cody has his last name back,
Humongously.
It's one of those words. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So it just, now that he's Cody Rhodes, you can even play off of it's Dusty Rhodes' kid against Shaquille O'Neal, one of the all-time greats against the Prince of Wrestling.
Let's not forget Cody's on that new show coming out to TNT if it hasn't debuted already as well. Again, this is textbook, right?
Yeah.
This is the crossover that they needed.
Yeah.
So I do want to point out one thing as we talk about that promo that Brandy cut last night. Gabe606 on YouTube wants to let us know that apparently she did one on Dark against Anna Jay recently, and that was apparently comparable. So I'll have to go back and check that out. But I don't know if either of you recall that or had seen that. I know you don't watch Dark because we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, but it was good. It was good. So as we blend the two shows here, let's go back to talking about the pay-per-view Full Gear this past Saturday from AEW. And the next match I do want to talk about is the women's championship matchup. And that was Hikaru Shida, the champion, defending against Nyla Rose. She won by pinfall and retained the championship. Dave, what did you think of that matchup?
I was surprised. I thought for sure that Nyla was going to get it. I thought the timing was right. Her and Vicky. And in the end, Vicky dumps her and leaves. And Nyla just puts her head down and very dejected. It was a physical match. The girls went back and forth. For me, I'm just surprised with how they ended that match and the finish and how Vicky Guerrero took off.
And both of you would have booked Nyla Rose to win that matchup, at least according to my notes. By the way, the recount is still taking place over in the corner here.
Well, is it a hand recount or are you putting it through machines again?
Oh, it's all by hand.
Just making sure.
That's the safest way to do it.
And see, I think too the Vicky thing took away from the match.
Yep.
It took away big time, and then it made the story about her. And I'm like, man, I don't know why this story is about her. It either needs to be about the champion, which it hasn't been, and that's why there wasn't a lot of steam on this match. This match probably had the least amount of steam of any match on the card. And then she just defeats Nyla Rose soundly, and then you get all the emphasis on Vicky. This one was, the match itself was good, and both women performed greatly, both Nyla and Shida. But if there was a miss on the show, if I had to pick a miss, it was this one, just because of at the end the Vicky thing just kind of didn't do it for me.
Interesting. All right, gentlemen.
And then there was no real follow-up last night on Dynamite with it.
None. Well, but it's still out there. It's still festering. They could easily do it next week.
It's already forgotten about.
All right.
Yeah, but you can remind them. That's what we live in the video age. All you got to do is put up a package, remind people, and so it's not forgotten. But the fact that you have to remind them.
Speaking of package, use promo code PWR at Manscaped.com, and you'll save 20% and free shipping.
What does that have to do with a package?
Because you get a package from Manscaped.com in the mail.
You get a package to take care of your package.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you think that Nyla Rose uses Manscaped? My question is, can a woman use it?
Of course.
Yeah. Just
a trimmer. Some of them have mustaches.
PWR is a promo code, free shipping and 20% off, I believe, Dave, in case you didn't mention that.
I did. That was the first thing I mentioned was 20% off.
I believe it's called a downstairs goatee, but I might be mistaken on that.
And what
He's
case
unfamiliar.
What's that?
In what case is it a Fu Manchu?
When you sneeze.
We want to thank Manscaped, our tremendous partner, makes this show possible, help us bring this show to you. And we want to continue to welcome those of you watching us on socials. We are live. We are live every Thursday night right here on Fight TV and across our social media channels. We're talking about both AEW Full Gear and last night's Dynamite. And the next matchup we want to talk about from Full Gear and the fallout on Dynamite last night was the Tag Team Championship matchup. The Young Bucks are the brand new AEW World Tag Team Champions. They defeated FTR by pinfall in what some are calling one of the best matches in AEW history and definitely a qualifier for Match of the Year, Dave.
I was blown away by how good this match was. It wasn't just movement and motion. They were actually telling a story. I love how they paid tributes to the other tag teams along the way using their finishers. It was just a well-paced match where it was physical. Yeah, there were some of the high spots in there. Who would have thought that Dash would actually be doing a flip and a dive, at one time? But it was great. I think that was the best match of the night, hands down by far. Probably one of the best matches of all of 2020.
It was a match that was heavily hyped. FTR on Twitter months ago, whether it may be. Also, the Young Bucks saying, wait for the match. The match you all wanted to see might one day happen. It did. And the emotion was real. I still wonder maybe we'll get more matches out of these two teams. In fact, probably we will. But was this too soon is the question I ask myself. I'm not sure it was. But Shane, your thoughts on the match and what the future may be as FTR now is in the running to get back their tag team championships.
Oh, I think we definitely see this again. And I mean, if they want to take their time, take their time. But we'll see it again for sure. Match was incredible. The slingshot powerbomb followed by the crucifix roll-up was the spot of the night for me. I legit thought that was the finish. Knew it was. And when it kicked out, I was like, oh, man, they got me. Anytime you can get me, I'm a fan of that. I mean, these are two of the best teams in the world. Two of the best teams of the last 10, 15 years easily. And they went out there and proved why last night. I mean, not last night, but at the pay-per-view, they were just, absolutely incredible. Take my hats off to everybody involved. And the solid, clean finish, the way they did it, I thought it was just beautiful. Well done. I take my hats off to everybody involved.
What they used to say about the Rockers tag team, what was it? It wasn't chemistry.
Specialists.
Tag team specialists. But no, there was something else I think Monsoon used to refer to the match as. Tag team specialists, you're right, but it was tag team. It wasn't excellence, but it'll come to me later. But
that pairing of matches is going to be like the British Bulldogs versus the Hart Foundation. That's this generation, because they both play off so well, or each other so well. I mean, it was really well done. The pacing was good. The selling was great, and there were times you really thought FTR was going to retain.
And YouTube user by the name of we talked about him earlier, Batman Beyond 23 says FTR should have won. They could have continued this story to maybe a 3-match showdown. So their next
no, because the stipulation that if the Bucks didn't win, they don't get another title shot. So they couldn't have. That stipulation, that was the
how
stipulation. How
crazy is it that FTR, who doesn't do flips, just fists, when they tried to go airborne, is what cost them the match?
Beautiful. There was one time, and I'm gonna leave out the particulars and the particular names, but as an agent, I suggested a spot. I suggested one talent do a springboard, and he gets caught out of it, and then the guy goes. And he was going to get caught, and that was going to be the finish of the match. He goes, yeah, but I don't really do springboards. And I go, yeah, you're not going to do one tonight either. That's why you lose. That's the point. It worked beautifully then, and it worked beautifully at Full Gear as well. So,
but Shane, you say if the Bucks didn't win, then they wouldn't get another shot. But what if there was a draw? Would they have gotten another shot then? Maybe
if they didn't win, they don't win. Win means win. Win don't mean draw.
Don't get hot. Okay.
Hey man, I'm just trying to let you know.
I appreciate you letting me know and educating me throughout this process, you heifer. So
hey, let him get ethnic on you.
Hey, I'll get redneck. I'll get ragamuffin.
We shouldn't do this on air. Ethnic and redneck?
Whoa,
what about ragamuffin?
Ninja?
Do you mean?
Back and forth. His hands up.
You saying you stopped short there. Whatever. Moving right along, folks. Let's continue talking about AEW Full Gear, and it was the Elite Deletion match. Matt Hardy getting the win over Sammy Guevara, getting payback for everything Guevara had done to him with the help from his friends. Sammy Guevara losing that matchup to Matt Hardy by pinfall. Shane, you were part of it, obviously. You sort of knew what was going to happen, and we do appreciate you not spoiling for us. But Dave, what did you think of this presentation? The third, I think, installment, or maybe the fourth installment of the Deletion series of matches.
Poor Sammy Guevara. He got his ass handed to him. Well, of course, absolutely. But I mean, let's not forget we had a Hurricane Helms, a Gregory Helms, and a Gangrel sighting. And hey, let's be honest, they outshined the Private Party and LAX on that thing, because I think that it was just really well done. But poor Sammy, I mean, short of Rebby beating him up, he got destroyed by just about everything in that match, to the point where he legit, it looked like a murder scene when it was all said and done. It did. It's like, did they just kill him off? Because he's laying there face down, bleeding from the back of his head. I was like, damn. And then he pops up, and then he pops up last night, like, no problem whatsoever. That was the only thing that drove me nuts. Yeah. It's like, seriously, he was killed on pay-per-view.
At least he had bandages, though. I did appreciate that, okay? At least he's there showing some signs of wear and tear. But when you start a match off with a monster truck, with an attempted murder of a monster truck, so...
I love the golf cart, too. The golf cart was a great detail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was that whole shoot was a lot of fun. I got to be honest, though, since I had been kidnapped by Gangrel for 2 years. It's funny, me and Matt were going back and forth with this on social media, and we were talking about me being kidnapped. There were people that go, they thought I was shitting on WWE like I was kidnapped when I worked there. And I'm like, and no, this is just part of the House of Hardy story, because I got kidnapped in the House of Hardy network special, and then we paid it off on another company. Like, that was the inside joke, But we just had a lot of fun. But going in that water, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
That shit was awful. Completely fucking awful. But,
how cold was
it? It wasn't warm, but it wasn't as cold as when we did it in Impact. We did one of these deletion things at Impact. So there's been deletions in Impact, WWE, and AEW. So that's an incredible feat that Matt's done for himself. And since we included Sugar Shane, we've had characters from WCW as well that showed up. The Rock and Roll Express was there at one time, so you had NWA characters show up. So
what was Sugar Shane there?
In the Impact deletion, when I had the green leather jacket, so I was my character from Impact. Then I went to the Lake of Reincarnation. I came out as Sugar Shane with Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett, and we started doing the 3-count dance.
Where was Evan Courageous?
There was no Evan Courageous. It was Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett. And then I went in the Reincarnation again, Lake of Reincarnation. Then I came out as Hurricane. So I was Hurricane in Impact as well. Impact, WWE, and AEW. So,
it's interesting, Shane. I'd love to hear you explain it. We had a question earlier from a viewer that asks, let me try to find it here. Maybe you saw it, about that name, the Hurricane, and how.
Yeah, here's my answer. Mind your business.
Wait,
don't ask me about who owns shit. Mind your business.
Business.
Business. Mind your business.
Hey, but let's not forget Sammy Guevara was taking fireworks
Up the ass.
right to the body, up the ass. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was crazy.
So let me ask you guys this. Sammy deserved everything he got in the Elite Deletion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Sammy becoming a bit of a comedy act, if you will, a credible comedy act in AEW? And I don't mean to say it's a bad thing, because he talks a game, he wrestles great, but every time he's put into these situations, he sort of gets his ass handed to him. But he works a lot to get to the point where the person wants to hand his ass to him. So he's somewhat protected in the balancing act.
Yeah, he's definitely in that tweener mold. Definitely not a legit heel, because you don't really hate him. He's so entertaining, you kind of have to like him. But he does the comeuppance that a heel should give. But keep in mind, Flair was like the greatest tweener of all time, because even when he was the heel, you still liked him a little bit. Did you ever really hate Ric Flair? Come on.
How could you?
The only time I got close was when he rubbed Ricky Morton's face on the concrete. That was the only time I thought I hated Ric Flair. Other than that, legendary.
See, for me, it was when he put Terry Funk through a table. But
yes,
you know what though? Sammy is almost becoming bulletproof, where it doesn't affect his status at all.
No, and that's great.
Yeah.
You need people like that. If one loss takes you out of the game, come on. We need people that can stick around no matter what.
All right, moving on from the Elite Deletion, folks. It was the next matchup we'll talk about, which was, let me just follow my notes here. Yes, there is two more remaining, actually. And it was Jericho versus MJF. MJF, his streak continues. He defeats.
Let me ask you this, though. Am I the only person that has been multiple characters in so many different companies?
I think the only other person we could ask is Mick Foley. Or
yeah,
Kevin.
but that really only happened in WWE.
You're right. I mean, Kevin Nash might be close.
Yeah, but he was only one character in each company.
Oh, Vinny Vegas, Diesel.
You know what?
No, he was Diesel in WWE. I guess he was Kevin Nash in WWE. I'm saying in the same, not multiple characters throughout your career, within the same company. Because I did multiple characters in WWE, multiple characters in Impact, and now in my one stint in AEW, multiple characters there.
Maybe Jim Neidhart when he was Who in the Anvil. That's about it. But
that was only in one. That was only in one company. I'm talking about multiple characters in multiple companies.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody.
What a weird asterisk to have.
Submit that to Wikipedia and the Guinness Book of World Records. Oh, great point here on YouTube. Barry Darsow.
They're Barry Darsow.
Yeah,
I have to give it a Barry. Crusher Khrushchev, because he was Crusher Khrushchev. Yep. And did he do anything else in NWA though?
Yeah, he was Hole in One Barry Darsow.
Boom, Barry Darsow.
and he was also Blacktop Bully, wasn't he, or something like that?
What?
And WCW, the Blacktop Bully, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the name, but I don't remember what he looked like then.
He was in the back of a truck.
I'll take that because Barry Darsow is so underrated and undercredited. I'll take that all day long.
You know what? It's a difficult thing for me to get to Crusher Khrushchev from Smash, from Barry Darsow, Repo Man, all that. That's the one character I can't connect to him. And we've talked about it with him on this program.
Which one?
Crusher Khrushchev.
God, what was? Do you remember Bam Bam Bigelow started off as a Russian?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, fuck, I can't remember the name.
I think it was Crusher Yurkov.
Really?
Yeah.
Crusher what?
Yurkov.
Down in World Class, right? I know he was in World Class for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love.
If you were bald back in the day, you were Russian, which is weird because not really.
I remember
not that many Russians are bald. It's just really kind of like Gorbachev, I guess.
It was during the Cold War, so it makes
sense.
I
guess because Gorbachev or whoever the fuck was bald, all Russians had to be bald. I don't know.
Mikhail. And is it true? Who wasn't Russian? Was it Nikita Koloff or Boris? Who is Boris?
Most of them were. Ivan wasn't. Nikita wasn't.
Ustinov.
I don't think any of them were.
We're not Russian.
Yeah, I don't think any of them were. Maybe
Nikita Koloff was from Minneapolis.
Awesome. I know I don't know where Ivan's from, but he's not Russian at all.
And one of the, as we talk about that, Many people were still surprised that Yokozuna wasn't Japanese. He was Samoan.
Right. And what was Kozlov? Vladimir Kozlov.
He had to be Russian.
He was Russian or something.
I think he was either Ukrainian or he was Serbian.
Prussia? Was Prussia ever in the conversation?
Yeah.
Well, Prussia is now Poland. So I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Don't look at me like that. I'll go.
Was Ivan Koloff?
I call on you.
Was Ivan Koloff Canadian?
That I don't know.
Off the top of my head, I'm just trying to remember. Like, I don't want to go to Wikipedia.
I was never a big Ivan Koloff guy. I was more into Nikita because he was.
What did you say?
Oh, I paid more attention to Nikita than I did to Ivan.
All right, gentlemen, one more match. Actually, we didn't.
I love Uncle Ivan. Go ahead.
We didn't talk about the match. Jericho and MJF. MJF gets a pinfall victory over Jericho. Shane, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on that contest and the fact that now he is part of the Inner Circle and they're on their way to Vegas. Yes, I have booked my ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. Interesting the way they went with it at the end. I thought, like, with Jericho, like once Jericho lost, I was like, okay, here's going to come some shenanigans. We're gonna see some aftermath. But he kind of went along with it. But I think we got some interesting couple weeks of television with these two coming up, and that doesn't bother me at all. I'm interested in this storyline. Anytime I hear that MJF and Jericho are going to be on, especially in the same segment, I'm tuning in for that. So this is a great job of storytelling, in my opinion, in terms of keeping us guessing, because I'm guessing, and I feel like I know it. I've seen it all. So, but I feel like I'm guessing, and they're doing a great job in that aspect.
I think Vegas has as much potential for shenanigans as when they did Mick Foley and Al Snow in Vegas back in the late 90s. I think Sammy is going to wind up in the wrong club, let's say. And
like Cousin Jack?
Yes. Exactly.
I don't think there's a wrong club in Vegas. If I'm being honest, I think I've been to about all of them. There's something for everybody, no matter what club you go to in Vegas. It might lean heavily in one way or the other, but there's a little something for everybody. And most of it's illegal, but hey, don't worry about it.
It's too bad they can't show up at the Godfather's place. That would be a fantastic.
How do you know they can't?
I'm sure Godfather's under a Legends deal. You know what? I bet they give Disco Inferno a call.
Who?
Disco.
Doesn't ring a bell. Actually, that might be funny.
What's he doing in Vegas?
It's his birthday today, as a matter of fact. So happy birthday, Glenn Givernetti, 53. And of course, he posted a topless picture.
Well, he wanted to compete with Jericho, but Damian, he's actually running a club.
I've been there.
Is it a strip club or an off-strip club?
No, he works at one of the biggest, best adult nightclubs in the country. I know the name of it because I've been there, hung out with him.
Crazy Horse 1, 2, 3, or 4.
I think it's a Spearmint Rhino.
I'll find out. I would text. Y'all talk amongst yourself. I would text.
I love all the free publicity we're giving the strip clubs in Las Vegas right now. This is fantastic.
We got room for another sponsor if you are watching, and we will embrace whatever it is you'd like to offer for payment. So, David, your thoughts? MJF gets a win. They're on their way to Vegas.
You know what? I liked it. I was hoping the finish would have been where Jericho would have lost by DQ when MJF did the Eddie with the bat. I think that would have been brilliant to be like, oh, okay, you got me, ha. It kind of saves it that Jericho didn't get pinned and MJF just outsmarted them. But you know what? They did good business. I was waiting for some shenanigans also where Jericho was going to get jumped and beat up, but I guess that's not the way they're going with it.
Here's the thing, though. Is there a more obvious end game in wrestling right now than the story between MJF and Jericho? Meaning, clearly.
I don't think so, because we're still guessing. So don't be surprised if it doesn't end up not the way we think.
God, Shane, it has to end in a match between the two. A marquee match. It has to.
Oh, you're talking about just having a match? Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure at some point they'll have a match. I'm just talking about how we get there. And even when they have the match, where it goes from there, I think they're doing such a good job of leading us one way, throwing out these red herrings, thinking it's going to be one way, and then it goes a different way. And you're like, okay, that's good too.
And that's great. And that's where I talked about this on the PWR Today podcast earlier today. And that's where AEW is great, because they run the risk, right, of too many of the quote unquote inmates running the asylum. And I don't say that as a bad thing, but you got a lot of workers who have positions.
It just depends on who the inmate is. If the inmate has terrible fucking ideas, it's bad. But if you got Jericho and MJF and those type of guys, it can be good.
And that's incredibly valid, Shane. And the point I was making was they're controlling themselves, and they're doing logical things without having to be too corporate in their delivery. And it makes sense, and it keeps us as fans guessing, which is what we want in a wrestling program. I'm guessing where this Jericho MJF story is going to end. Look, whatever they do in Vegas is going to be fantastic.
And what about MJF quoting Drake on Dynamite? Drake, yeah. Anyway, the promo he did on Dynamite was just, I started from the bottom, now I'm here. That whole little bit with Ortiz, that shit was fabulous.
Drake Maverick?
Yeah, sure.
No,
well, it was the main event, ladies and gentlemen. It was for the AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
To save time, we can skip this one.
Oh, who do you hate now?
No, I don't hate anything. I just didn't enjoy the match. I didn't think it was that good. I think that I understand Eddie Kingston wanted to pay homage to indie wrestling, and that's why he wore what he wore. But I don't think that was the match that should have closed out the show.
No, he paid homage to Masawa. I don't know if we call him an indie wrestler. I'm not trying to nitpick at you. I don't want to be.
Listen, I understand that it was also to Masawa, but
no, I mean I get what you're saying. I feel like Eddie was doing a little pandering going into this match.
Yes,
that
for people that don't know who Masawa is, you thought, oh, that's his newest indie gear, because that's how it looked.
I mean, here's the thing. I get Eddie's coming from a place of respect. That I love about Eddie Kingston, because I love that about Eddie Kingston. I wanted him to be a heel. And so leading into the match, like all the social media stuff, he's donating the money of it from his gear to Tracy Smothers. Okay, so you want me to love you? I'm supposed to, because that's going to make me love you. I want to hate you in this match. So it was tough, because on one hand, he's been this great human being, a very respectful human being, but on the other hand, that takes away from the character that he was portraying on this pay-per-view. So it's a tricky line we walk these days in a social media era, which is where we're in. We're so deep in it.
Don't I know it?
Yeah, we all do. So it's tough, but
do you, Shane?
Well, the thing is, I'm lucky because I'm me no matter what. I'm lucky I don't really have to navigate these waters. If you don't lie, you really don't have to remember shit. That's a good thing. So
one of the greatest things ever said, because it's so true.
But like I wanted to heal there. I wanted somebody to really hate, and I don't hate Eddie. And I think you take away from the heat of the match when you do that, because I didn't hate him. I wanted to cheer for this babyface, But if you take away that, these two went at each other. They beat each other's ass. You have to respect the physicality in it. The finish, I think, was good. Even though Eddie was forced to say, I quit, he's still like, shit, I would have quit way before that, And anybody at home that says they wouldn't, they lying, because your ass would have quit too. So he looked like a badass, even in submission. It served its purpose. Moxley's at the top of his game right now. The promo he cut on Dynamite was the best promo of the week. And it was so fucking believable. I believed every word out of his mouth. So just good shit. It was good. I'm okay with it being the main event, the World Championship main event. That's the way it should be. weeks.
And let's talk about, and AEW's really been traditional in that regard, but let's talk about what's next for Eddie Kingston, a return to Pac, rather, on Dynamite last night.
But why did I miss? Why Pac? Why Pac? Why is he hot at Eddie? Because evidently I might have forgot something. Why is he hot at Eddie?
I was going to ask you the same question. I have no idea.
Well, Dave, I think it's to the point you've been making about AEW over the last few weeks, that they build these stars and put them into marquee matches, and then what do you do with them after when they lose? I think this is a perfect scenario for Kingston because it sort of protects him going forward, because now he's in a program with a big returning.
No, I agree with that, but why? Why was Pac so mad? Came out fired up, talking about this, that, and the other.
They've never been in the ring together before. And
what did I miss? I missed something. I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about.
Hey, 59 minutes in, that's your first F-bomb, Shane. Was it?
I can catch up if you want me to. But that too, the other thing on Dynamite that was really weird to me, they announced a match. It was so and so, and it was going to end up being against the Blade. What was the
Pac against the Blade, who just got his ass handed to him.
Yeah, exactly. So Pac's going against the Blade. I'm like, I just saw the Blade get fucked up. There's two for you. I just saw him get fucked up. There's three earlier. I'm like, why do I care about that match? That was really, that whole ending segment was very odd to me.
And how does that match even become a bunkhouse brawl?
And it shouldn't have been a bunkhouse brawl, but once they did do a bunkhouse brawl. They went at each other, kicked each other's ass, so I'm fine with that.
But then I'm wondering, well, should Butcher and Blade be the baby faces because QT was out carousing with Blade's wife? And then when I get there's so many little details that just keep getting skipped over and forgotten about, that if you're following the show weekly like a season, a lot of stuff doesn't add up.
Well, let me ask you about this. We've got a comment from Facebook, a viewer by the name of Billy Flores, who says that the Lucha Brothers was a part of Pac's stable, and then that Pac and Lucha Brothers were part of the Triangle of Death, comes to us from Gabe606 on YouTube. So perhaps...
Is that in AEW?
Yes. Yeah.
Triangle of Death.
Yeah. It was right before...
That sounds vicious.
That was right before the whole COVID thing happened. It was those three were together. But it's not like Eddie Kingston stole them from Pac. I mean, wasn't here. They got bored. They got lonely.
AEW Full Gear, the latest in pay-per-view offerings. We now sail to Revolution in February. However, we found out there's going to be another beach-themed event in January from Tony Khan, who runs AEW. But, gentlemen, again, a great show, a good show.
Full Gear carried it. Full Gear was excellent. No bad matches. Excellent start to finish.
It was worth the $50.
It was worth more just because of a little hurricane action up in there. That's all.
So let's now actually find out just how much it was worth to you and I, Dave, in the PWR Fantasy Draft, as I believe we shall receive confirmation. In fact, hold on.
This guy is messing up is more points than Pennsylvania and Georgia right now.
Hold on. We're going to go to Steve Karnecki now at the Magic Board, and we've got a major projection to make right now. Stay tuned, everyone.
Hello again, I'm the man they call Meathead, and this is a PWR Draft Update. Now, with AEW's Full Gear in the rearview mirror and out of the way, we have movement again in the draft, as well as more controversy. There were some questions if the MJF Jericho match was a specialty match. This was a normal match with a stipulation, so there will be no specialty match points. However, when it was brought up that the Otis losing the Money in the Bank match to Miz, the Miz won a briefcase that had predetermined points on it, so therefore Linda had won the Money in the Bank match again, even though it was the second time in the year. Plus, even though Damian has lost 2 titles, he did pick one up, so he is now closing in on Dave for second place. Here are the current totals brought to you by the accounting firm of Dewey, Cheatham & Howe. I still lead at 1,940 points. Dave Hero in second place at 1,780. Damian Nelson only 100 points behind Dave now at 1,680. Drew Baydala 1,405. and Linda K, 1,310. Don't forget to check out PWR Today, Monday through Friday, with the rest of the PWR family for the PWR Draft. I'm the man they call Meathead. Hey, thanks for stopping by.
I remain in the lead. I picked up 300. 300.
Oh, hold on a second. If you have a stipulation on a match, does that make it special? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Look,
Exactly. The Hurricane knows.
It's just a projection. If you want to contest this, I believe you can challenge it legally in any court you want with a frivolous lawsuit.
What with his legal team of
Dewey Cheatham
and Bob? That's not their names. That's what they do, and not a chance.
You know, he was wrong. Actually, it's Dewey Cheatham, Howe, and Cohen.
I can't believe this. I am gonna get screwed on this thing.
You're in second place, bro.
I should be like in
Don't mind me.
I should be like
Not for the first time.
I should be way ahead in first place.
You
The
know,
shenanigans on the voting, I'm telling you.
how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to drag this out and not concede that you are not in the lead in the draft? How long are you going to make this nation suffer while you
Probably for another 8.5 minutes.
Remember that chant? What was it they used to say to Vince McMahon a lot? Asshole. Asshole. As I say that, Ted Cruz popped up on my screen. But my TV.
Listen. You're whatever porn you're watching, you need to change that shit because that's not working.
Who? Him?
Yeah. If Ted Cruz popped up,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
he needs to put in a different search engine and
Good.
whatever.
I'll change it. He didn't finish, so it's all good. All right, gentlemen. So we are now getting ready to move on from AEW and all the discussion of AEW. Anything else you guys want to talk about from Dynamite last night? Or do you want to hear Randy Rhodes' promo again?
No, I thought Dynamite was real good though. I can't. There was nothing I hated about it off the top of my head. But I feel like we kind of covered it enough. But yeah.
It was a good show. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on now and talk about NXT, which kicked off with a bang last night.
Hold on. Did you guys see the ratings at all by chance? Who won last night?
Thank you, Dave. Good question. I actually would love to share the numbers with the world as AEW for the second week in a row head-to-head took the win from NXT with 764,000 viewers, up from their 717,000 last week. And NXT also increasing over prior week, but still down some 130,000 viewers from NXT at 632,000 viewers, up 22,000 from the previous week. So AEW continues a commanding lead. However, the numbers for both shows remain overall down in recent history compared to what they have been delivering before.
Hey, any of you guys watching The Mandalorian?
Hell yeah.
Season 2, right? You on season 2?
Yeah.
You watched the one episode where they got like a fight scene and whatever, where there's a ring set up?
With Bailey?
No, not with Bailey or Sasha, not yet. Where the gargantuan or the Gamorrean guards are in there fighting back and forth with axes.
No, I've only seen the first episode of season 2.
Okay, well then it's in season 2. It's in episode 2. They're even doing dives there. That's how much TV wrestling has changed everything, that the Gamorrean guards are now doing dives to the outside.
Dude, but that's been historical. Like there's been how many movies have you seen where you see some wrestling move that doesn't happen in a real fight?
Never.
You'll see some wrestling move, you're like, wait a minute.
I'm always seeing suplexes.
Yeah.
And you know what? We can blame No Holds Barred for that. I think that's what set everything going forward.
So, actually, I do have a question about The Mandalorian. I didn't watch Back to the Future Part 3. Am I going to be able to understand what this show is about?
Yes, because it's a human, not a car, you idiot.
Why are you calling me names? It's the DeLorean, right? The man in the DeLorean? I thought.
Yeah. Bless your heart. Right, Shane? Bless his heart.
I hate myself.
Leon Ruff, ladies and gentlemen.
Right now, I'm rooting for Cody.
Well, you might get your wish.
I'll get under control on January 25th. So, Leon Ruff is the new NXT North American champion, thanks to some shenanigans from.
Why did you say Leo Rush? That's weird.
Because the two names are very similar.
Oh, what are you trying to imply there?
Leon Ruff. It's an easy miss.
Just checking.
What would I be trying to imply?
What do you think about Lionel Richie?
I think he's fantastic.
It's a different one, Dave.
Oh,
I pray nightly for a comment to land right on my head. Just
that one? This one?
The night of the comment?
Yeah.
Any fucking comment. It doesn't matter. But I wanted to land right on my fucking head.
Leon Ruff is the new NXT North American champion, defeating Johnny Gargano in the opening contest of NXT last night. As stated, Damian Priest playing a big role in that, distracting Gargano, setting up the finish and the victory by Leon Ruff. I know we're all big fans of Damian Priest, but this was a surprising title change, obviously, Shane. And what did you think of the opening to NXT last night?
It was exciting. I was on board for it. I was like, okay, here we go with Johnny Gargano. As long as they understand he's not a heel, he's entertaining as hell. As long as they understand that, I'm fine with it. My problem is when people in creative positions and even wrestlers themselves, when they think they're a heel and they're just entertaining as fuck. As long as you understand who you are, I'm fine with tweeners. Tweeners are so important in the business. I used to not think that. Now I understand that they're very important. He's a tweener. He's entertaining as hell. They bring out Leon. We know what's going to happen. He's going to squish him. Maybe Damian Priest will get involved. I think that's what everybody assumed was going to happen here. And then they alluded to it when they did a really great camera shot too of when Johnny Gargano first looked up and you saw Damian Priest standing there. That was perfect camera work. So kudos to WWE on that. And then when we get to the finish, even though there was a bit of a distraction, it was still Ruff getting his move in.
He still beat him.
Yep. And then you got this guy that just, shocked the world. The curse continues for Johnny Gargano, so that continues his part. When Damian Priest raised his hands and the belt, because Leon Ruff is so skinny that the belt fell to the floor, legit. Laugh out loud moment. I rewound it. If you can make my ass, being in this business since 1988, been watching since 1979, if you can make me rewind, I'm popping. That was great. I loved it. Some of the purists might not. I don't give a shit.
Did you notice the Velcro?
Yeah, they do that on all the belts now.
Really? When did that happen? I missed that sea change.
They started that when I was there, so it's just because they're hard to get on or whatever. So at first, what we've done now is they've added on the back the little buttons that kind of looks like it's still the snaps, but it's not. But most of the belts have Velcro now. But
you know what
I think a lot of guys don't like it, but I'm not sure exactly why they're doing it. What was the decision? But
you know what I love back in the day, and I remember Hogan doing this a few times, is when they win the belt and they put it on, went back when you used to wear a belt, and they would put it on backwards so they can snap it in front and then turn it around.
Because it's hard to put on. Like belts, I've held a bunch of them. It's hard to put on because you got to put it on. You want to snap it on. You want it to be tight. You want to suck it in, look good. And half the time you got to get somebody else to put it on. So more than likely that's why they did it. So you will put it on backwards, you will snap it, and then you got to turn it, and it's hard as fuck to put on. So
is there a belt heavier than the traditional NWA Ric Flair belt?
The big gold?
Yeah.
That was probably one of the heavier ones. I imagine the Nick Bockwinkel Big Silver was heavy as hell too, though.
Bockwinkel Big Silver, the AWA?
Yeah. The one that Stan Hansen destroyed.
Yeah, Big Silver's AWA.
It was sort of small. It was thin.
Bullshit. That one was big. As a matter of fact, Ric Flair told me himself, because I had a theory, did Flair go to the big gold because of that belt? And so I asked Flair about it, and he told me himself that yes, because him and Martel did a match against each other in Japan, and all the Japanese media just thought that Rick Martel was the better world champion because he had the bigger belt.
So size does matter.
Size matter, because I have an old one of the Aftermags, but this one is Bockwinkel, Bob Backlund, and Ric Flair. Ric Flair has the legendary 10 pounds, which is that small one. Backlund had that little tiny one, which is so just kind of bland. And then there's Bockwinkel, with the big, with that big, and he just looked like the fucking man. It was so beautiful. It looked like the world champion. And I always had an idea that that's why they went to the big gold. So I asked Flair about it, and he confirmed it for me.
So you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about the Lawler AWA, because Lawler was AWA champion, right?
That one existed before.
Oh, really?
That one, a version of that one existed before the Big Silver. Vern Gagne had that one. And so then when they got away from Big Silver, they kind of went back to a modified version of that. Kurt Hennig brought it back, and Lawler held it. But that one's real nice, too. I do like that one as well.
Which belt did they use during Battle Bowl?
I don't know. I can't remember Battle Bowl.
As we take this history lesson, so WCW was Super Brawl. What was AWA's? Super something, wasn't it?
There was a Super Clash. I think Super Clash is what they did with WCW as well when Lawler unified the title against Kerry Von Erich.
I think that's right about when I came into the current AWA at that time, because I just vividly remember Lawler with that championship and that belt.
Yeah, it was Crockett and Vern Gagne putting together a big super show, and Crockett and Vern Gagne were both trying to sign each other's talent away from each other.
So Crockett, why you would say Crockett? Crockett wasn't running World Class.
No, it was the NWA, it was World Class, and it was the AWA.
For Super Clash, because I thought Super Clash was AWA versus WC World Class.
Nope.
Oh, that was just
Super
the main event.
Well, there was 3 Super Clashes, but
three.
The first one, it was they had Jimmy Snuka and Bruiser Brody.
What was the main event of the first one? How the fuck you remember the undercard?
Wait, which one was at the Mecca, Dave? Didn't we? Wasn't one of those in Milwaukee? Super Clash?
No, that was a WCW pay-per-view.
Super Brawl at the auditorium. Yeah. We're getting off the rails here in a great way, though, gentlemen.
Yeah, big time off the rails. But I love these conversations.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's what the amazing thing was for me is that NXT usually really values their championships. The way they do the belts, the way they're designed, it's all about lineage and heritage. For them to do what they did with Gargano, I think it shocked everybody that was watching that show last night.
I think you have to do. I think you have to do that sometimes. Tommy Rich beating Harley Race. Sometimes you got to do it. Garvin beating Ric Flair. Sometimes you got to do it. People that I brought up Garvin recently on my social media. Somebody they were all against it. I'm like, really? Because I know when it happened, I was like, it went off on. It was at the end of a show on a Saturday. They showed a clip of Garvin beating Flair.
Yep.
All fucking week long. Yep. I was in a panic. I couldn't understand how this had happened. I couldn't wait to watch the next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Ronnie Garvin was awesome back then.
Yeah, I think the only mistake they made then was they didn't let him defend it. They should have let him have a defenses leading up to Starrcade. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Was he rugged yet?
No, this was way before rugged. This was Hands of Stone. You see this motherfucker right here? But upsets are the most exciting thing in sports. Upsets are the most exciting thing.
Jake Roberts and Ronnie Garvin had one of the best viewed programs you had ever seen back then in Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Really? I'll have to check that out. Is that on the network?
That I don't know. I watched it when it happened, so who knows?
All right. Well, the Cruiserweight Championship was on the line on NXT as Santos Escobar defended successfully against Jake Atlas, who's been getting a lot of time. And this match being built to for a long time on NXT, David Hero.
I don't get it. None of it makes any sense to me. It really doesn't.
What doesn't make sense?
Well, it's like he has a video camera, says, "Hey, follow me while I go physically assault somebody with a lead pipe, and let's get it on tape." It's like he's trying to stack the odds in his favor, and he still can't win, no matter what he does.
Yeah. Good match. 2 talented guys. I'm kind of done with it though. And I don't want to diss on either one of them, but I'm kind of done with this feud. It's just I'm ready for some new blood in that division.
But Shane, tell me you didn't shake your head during that match. Like, really? this is how they're going with this again? And then he loses clean again.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what's next, because we do have to try to figure out who is this masked woman as Candice LeRae gets a victory.
Why does it have to be a woman?
It clearly is a woman. You have you not? I mean, it's obvious.
Really? I've only. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Carry on.
Candice LeRae gets a win over Toni Storm as a result of the interference by that masked woman who we first saw at Halloween Havoc. Shane, your thoughts on this contest?
I think seeing the Scream mask again was silly. Like, there was a point where I was like, okay. I started thinking, what if you're a new fan? What if you're a new fan?
Well, and it's Thanksgiving now also. I mean,
now it's almost, and you're seeing the Scream match, like, okay, this joke's run its course a little bit. But that being said, they committed to the joke, so they had to finish it. I don't know. They took the mask off, and it was like, okay, all right. That was just my reaction. My reaction was like, okay, good for her. I like her. She's talented. But I was still like, all right.
Well, next up, Dave, Timothy Thatcher gets a pinfall win over Dexter Loomis, thanks to the help of your dear close personal friend, Shane, Cameron Grimes.
I think this again, sorry, Dave, I think this again was, all right.
Really? Well, I agree. Absolutely.
I think this is a Styles Clash match, with Dexter's character. I don't think it played well in Thatcher's style. I mean, mechanically it was fine, technically it was fine, but I was just like, man, I want something to fucking happen here, and I knew it was going to happen, and it did. So I mean, the best thing was Cameron Grimes coming in. That was
it's
literally
like
the best part of the
match against the Undertaker.
Yeah, it was a Styles Clash for me,
Well, the next match, gentlemen, was a bit of a mess in a good way. Danny Burch, Oney Lorcan retained the championships over the very serious Breezango. Everybody involved, of course, Pete Dunne, Pat McAfee, Drake Maverick. Dave, what did you think of this matchup, which saw the champions retain?
That was the best match on NXT. I thought they did a great job, great pacing. It was physical. I love Drake Maverick showing fire, that he went in there and guns a-blazing. Pat McAfee, he's just doing fantastic. I legit believe that his group of thugs, that they're as competitive, if not, could be almost better than Adam Cole's group. Yeah, Undisputed Era. I mean, right now it's I could see that being a 50-50 match.
Interesting. Shane, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the match. Love the match. You could argue that the finish got a little overbooked, a little convoluted, but fuck it. I don't care. I thought it was exciting. A lot of good elements involved. Match was good. The mechanics, psychology was good. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and it got to a point where I was like, man, they're not going to take the titles off these guys right away, But the match was that good. You could there was a couple false finishes there that you kind of popped for it. So, but then even at the end when McAfee's cutting that promo talking about we're the best 4-man group, and you saw Burch throw up he legit threw up the 4 fingers. I was like, really? We're going to go deep here. So I think McAfee's brought a lot of attention to that group. I think on commentary, Bad News Barrett there was kind of acting like it was Pat McAfee's expertise that made these guys great. I would lean away from that. He's not an expert pro wrestler. He's a pro footballer. But he's awoken something in these two talents to make them better. So I get that. That makes sense to me. But, I mean, excellent tag team match. It was really, really excellent.
Shane, mentioning Bad News Barrett, have we missed Morrow since Wade Barrett's been there?
I mean, you missed the excitement. You missed that real intense, because Morrow really loved it, and his love for it came through. It's going to be hard for anybody to duplicate that. What's that?
It seems like Beth Phoenix is always yelling, though, and that kind of energy as well.
Yeah, but no, it's going to be hard to match Morrow's energy. Very few people can. Other than PrimeTime JR, very few people match Morrow's energy.
JR, that's well put. Well put.
Yeah, when JR was in his peak and when he was really fucking excited, not salty JR. You get salty JR, he's gonna come from that field a couple times. But
yeah,
I still do miss Morrow. Morrow is really good.
You can't replicate true passion. And we talk about a man who's very critical of the business overall, but a man who's very smart, Jim Cornette, talks about how all the commentators, the play-by-play men in WWE are the same. They're Michael Cole 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And Cole is great, by the way. Cole is very underrated, but that genuine passion, excitement, and delivery and storytelling is lacking since JR in WWE, and he's not delivering the same thing in AEW. What he's doing in AEW isn't bad, but he's playing a very different role in that company. And I would actually venture to say that if Primetime JR, as you mentioned, Shane, was there now in AEW, the engagement would be even that much higher because he was the missing link between the in-ring action and the at-home viewer to connect you to the pure passion of what was it. Why, Triple H? Why? You son of a bitch! Why, Triple H? And
see, I'll tell you what's missing. I'll tell you what's missing, hands down, is somebody with authenticity, somebody with a resume. JR had Jerry the King Lawler, one of the greatest of all time, beside him. When you see, that's what Barrett brings to NXT. Somebody that's been there, somebody that's done it. When I don't care who they are, with there's a lot of commentators that you ain't really done shit in the business and you're in there critiquing actual stars. For me, that's a miss. Jerry Lawler can say whatever the hell he wants to. Jerry Lawler's been there. He's done that. When I got, just random ringing out or commentator A, B, or C talking shit about somebody, especially when they try to go into that heel role, that's when they lose me, And there's a couple of those. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
You've got 4, and they fall across 2 categories. The first category is those who presented individually in a tremendous way, and they didn't need that chemistry of a partner. Gordon Soley, Joey Styles. And then you've got those who delivered so tremendously because of how great the chemistry was with the partner. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, and also Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
And those probably are your 4, even though it's 6 people.
See, and too, just think about the credibility that Gorilla and Ventura had, because they were both stars. So you had these stars talking about shit, so you believed him a little bit more. I know I've mentioned this on this show before. It's like with boxing, when Roy Jones Jr. is on commentator, you listen to him a little bit more, at least I do, than I listen to the other guys who never threw hands. When George Foreman comes on, when Lennox Lewis comes on, I'm listening to those guys because they've been there, they did it. When I got just Joe Blow over here doing commentary, I don't give a fuck what he's saying because he never did it.
You know what, though, Shane? I would challenge you with this as a fan.
Challenge me there, motherfucker.
He was, as a fan who was growing up in that era and began watching during that time, I didn't know Ventura had wrestled. I didn't know Monsoon had wrestled. I just knew that they were the people.
That's because you a nerd.
Wait a minute. If I were a nerd,
you think somebody with the name Gorilla Monsoon? You think his mama named him Gorilla?
I did. And I wondered why, when I found out Joey Marella was his kid, that his last name wasn't Monsoon.
Where is the comment?
I was naive. I needed the money.
Please, right here. I just
Wait a minute. Before the night of the comment, great movie, by the way, I do want to say this. I got lost in my fandom. I believed the wrestling that was being presented. Shane, you don't know this. Dave, we've talked about it on the show. I admitted in front of Al once, which is one of the biggest regrets of my life. But remember when Shawn Michaels collapsed on Raw? I called 203-352-8600, the WWE offices in Stamford, Connecticut, and asked how he was doing.
Hey, Trump thought Vince McMahon really got killed, so that's who you in line with now. Now you're part of the MAGA powers.
Shane?
Just saying.
Don't let me.
I'm just saying.
On your ass.
Don't get ratchet.
You've been nothing but a heifer on this program the entire time. It's ridiculous. In fact, you know what? I want to hear it again.
No,
we can't go overtime.
Yeah.
Open
I wanted to say that to Dave for years.
Why me?
Hold my baby. She didn't start taking the nails off.
Did you take her earrings off or no?
And you know what else you can do? You can take your ratchet, trifling ass right up on my stage and do not come back unless I send for you. Do you understand?
So hey, why would you send for her in the first place?
Unless. So here's what it reminds me of. Shane, I imagine you probably watched this show, and we're in overtime. Sorry about that, guys. But did you so one of two shows? They were both on ABC Thursday night: Scandal or How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah, of course.
You see the episode where Kerry Washington and Viola Davis, I can't remember their characters, or Olivia and whatever her name was on How to Get Away With, when they were in the beauty salon, and they had a bit of a falling out, and all those words were used in their falling out, with the addition of Sadiddy in that segment. And that was another thing I could not watch back enough. It was fantastic. While you sitting there saving your $1 for the big bus to get down to the city.
But the "don't come for me unless I send for you" line, that one's strong. That one's been around. That one's been used a couple of times, but that one's strong.
Yeah.
By the way, Disco texted me back. Sapphire's Gentleman Club. Sapphire is the club.
I'll write that down for Sammy because I arrive in Vegas tomorrow night, and we are going to hit the streets. Sapphire, like with polka dots?
Sapphire, like the gym.
Oh, GEM.
No, but Damien, for you, yes, it would be Sweet Sapphire. Yes, absolutely. Dusty's girl.
All right, gentlemen. So continuing to talk about shit, we haven't even gotten Impact yet.
Yeah. Hey, Damien, get a clock. Get a clock. Get a clock.
Yeah, I have one, but we're going to go another 5 minutes here and talk about Impact Wrestling. And I do want to first, though, talk about the exemplary gear that both of you are wearing. Shane with the black and yellow tonight. Is that a conquistador?
I'm not sure who the fuck this is, but this is from collarandelbowbrand.com. It's actually a dark winter green with the yellow mask to match the bandana. You know, I always coordinate. And
He's
this is from
Packers.
Reckon the what?
The Packers, the Green Bay
Okay,
Packers.
well then I'm never going to wear it again if that's the case. It's going to go. No, I love this. I love the mask shirt. So very good. collarandelbowbrand.com, and my man Dave here is going to give you that promo code right now.
Yes, it's PWR 360. Save 10%. Hop on collarandelbowbrand.com tonight. They're dropping some more wintry, fallish clothes that you will love to wear when it gets below zero.
Is that where Manscaped comes into play again?
Yeah, that's below the zero line. Absolutely. Yes.
South of the equator. Very, very good.
But, you know, hey, if you're going to Vegas, you better get groomed up because, you know.
Oh, I did that this morning.
Oh, tremendous.
Ready. Smooth as silk. Coming in soft. Well,
I don't think that's what they want to hear, but
swing and a miss.
Hey, it happens to almost everybody. It's fine.
That's when we need a Blue Chew. If we had Manscaped and Blue Chew together, that would have been the perfect segue.
I've got a lot on my mind. This doesn't normally happen. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling, all right, folks. And there was a lot going on, including trying to figure out still who shot Johnny Bravo. But before we got to that, it would be a matchup where Madison Rayne and Tenille Dashwood would team up to go up against Havoc and Nevaeh. Havoc and Nevaeh would get the win over Dashwood and Rayne. Again, some shenanigans at the end of this matchup, David.
I just thought it was interesting how they put all this time and effort into putting that team together of Madison Rayne and Tenille Dashwood to not have anything good come out of it. But, I mean, it's kind of hard to stop Havoc and Nevaeh. I mean, that is one dominating tag team right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think going forward is trying to get to Tenille and Jordan Grace as the team. So I see what they're going with there. I liked it. Good match. You know, I'm a fan of all four ladies involved in this. Havoc and Nevaeh, if I'm saying that correctly, that looks to be the team to beat. So they're doing good in promoting this women's tag team division. Impact, and I say this every week, they need a crowd more than anybody. They're really putting out such a well put together show. I wish there was anybody there to cheer for. Even to the point where they started the show with a promo from Caleb with a K, and he's like, "Put your hands together," and I'm like, "There's nobody there."
Maybe he should put one hand up on his hip.
I was like, did he mean to say that? Or was that in character? But Impact they're really killing it, and everybody's working so hard. I wish there was an audience there for them.
Working hard, but coming up short was TJP. He lost to Rohit Raju, not Manu Raju, and doesn't get another title shot as long as Rohit is champion. A great matchup. These continued great matchups for the X Division Championship within the X Division. Shane, your thoughts on this match and what's next for TJ?
Rahit's been a sleeper. Rahit's been one of the sleepers through this whole COVID era. This guy has snuck up, came from obscurity, basically obscurity, to one of the best heels going right now. He's one of the best heels on television right now is this guy. He's doing incredible. TJP, of course, we know this guy mechanically is as good as anybody, and he's always going to give you a good performance, so I expect that from TJP. We know what we're going to get from him. But, man, Rahit is just really continuing to kill it. I'm super impressed with this guy.
You got to believe that TJP might have to go and get that suicide gimmick.
Love it.
There could very well be.
Curry man.
There's just something about TJP under a hood. I don't know what it is. Maybe Shane Helms can give him some pointers. But yeah.
Not too many people with that mask have done as well,
Yeah, exactly.
Folks, Chris Sabin would get a win over AC Romero, who was with Larry D. Chris Sabin, one half, of course, of the Motor City Machine Guns with Alex Shelley. Great matchup. Again, shenanigans to end it, Shane.
Good match. That's a David versus Goliath, if there ever was one, but still good. Good story. Not much you can say about that. Nothing bad. Good match. Like I said, again, I wish there was a crowd. Sabin is a killer. He does good. Ace Romero, even though he's dropping weight, he's still fucking massive. But good match, solid.
Is that what the fans want to see? Is the Machine Guns against Quadruple X?
Those matches are hard. For when you see Sabin, you're expecting this really fast-paced match. But you know what? It's situational. Not every match is going to be exactly the same. So it's good to see him against somebody different to see how he performs. Taking him out of that formula, I thought he still performed really well. I wasn't surprised by that. I know how good he is. But from Ace Romero, if I could give him some advice, man, some of these big guys, when I was talking about even Allysin Kay earlier, because she's a bigger person, they hold back a little bit, that's what made Brock stand out. There was always points in Brock's matches where he's like, man, he could kill this person, and there should have been a point in that match with the size differential with Ace Romero and Sabin. There should have been a point in that match where you're like, man, he could really kill this guy, but it wasn't there. He needs to turn up the intensity, turn up the killer instinct a little bit.
Speaking of Killer Instinct, I just once became one again with the Xbox playing system. And Dave, I don't think you ever gamed, but Shane, I assume you had game at one point. And Killer Instinct, you remember Killer Instinct? It was an arcade game. What? The dinosaur?
Oh, that was a hell of a movie.
No, Mortal Kombat. It was a horrible movie. The second one. The first one was tremendous.
Oh.
Shane,
what are you talking about? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Movie?
Killer Instinct was a video game on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, Sharon Stone was in that movie.
That's with the one with the rabbit. Really? Killer Instinct, Saberwolf, Jago.
No, the one with the rabbit was that was a different one. That wasn't Sharon Stone.
That was Fatal
Attraction. Fatal Attraction.
And we've all
I'm really surprised. Killer Instinct. You guys, Mortal Kombat, Sling Blade, Soul Calibur.
Sling Blade. I like mustard biscuits.
We're going to get back on track here, folks. And the next matchup was Eddie
Shane,
Edwards.
who's the guy that always takes us off track every time? Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
I'm the host. I can do that. Chris
Yeah,
Bay.
way over there.
But he always fusses at us about time.
Yeah.
We haven't went off track. I went off
You
track
wanna be-
maybe
okay,
about.
Okay. Oh,
No,
you
I
know
don't care. I don't
I
like
know.
being on time.
I'm
always on time.
always on time.
I'm always on time.
Dun, 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 dun.
A wizard arrives precisely when he wants to.
The Wizard of what?
What kind of
Shining
wizard are we
wizard.
talking about here?
The Shining Wizard.
Oh, okay.
Not okay.
Not Dave's guy, the Grand Wizard.
Here's
That's
the thing. I immediately thought the Wizard of Oz. He thought of a grander version of a wizard immediately.
I did.
I'll talk the Shining.
Hey, think big. I'm thinking.
Eddie Edwards and Chris Bay, ladies and gentlemen. Edwards gets the win. Sammy Callahan, Rich Swann involved. A lot going on in this matchup. The storytelling continues tremendously in Impact Wrestling. Dave Hero.
I love seeing Eric Swan. I think he's doing fantastic things in TNA Impact Wrestling. I mean,
What?
Okay,
we
Rich
broke
Swann.
shade. We broke
Rich.
shade. What did I say?
Not Eric Swan. Eric Swan was an NFL player.
Where did I get
Yeah.
Eric from? I meant Rich. I'm sorry.
No, Dave said Eric Swan.
Oh, good.
why you dump? Whoa, it's not my fault. I'm just following the lead here. You know,
What the fuck is happening?
We're late. That's and it's my fault. It is my fault.
You know what? For me, it's just cool Ken Shamrock still being around. I mean, it just he's there. He's just Ken Shamrock, and he's still being a player in all of this, no matter who's involved. I think Sammy Callahan's been great. Eddie Edwards has been great. Rich Swann has been great. Chris Bay, he's definitely moving up into that next level. But just something about whenever you see Ken Shamrock in there, you're like, good God, this is not going to end well for somebody.
Yeah, he brings that intensity that we want to see from, like, when I was talking about earlier about guys needing intensity and a killer instinct. Shamrock's the guy you need to look at, because there's always a point when Shamrock's in the ring when you feel like this could go off the rails. This could get dangerous. You need that. And Shamrock brings that. And Sammy Callahan brings it too. And so does Eric Young. Those three guys together, that's a dangerous ass unit. Speaking of Manscaped.
Reno Scum gets a win last Tuesday night over Falaba and Crazy Steve. Falaba. Shane, what'd you think?
Actually, my satellite went out, didn't it? Bad rainstorm. Didn't see that one at all.
A lot of matches with a lot of shenanigans on Impact this past Tuesday. I don't think it was overdone, though.
No, like I said, I think Impact's really been killing it. I mean, I've loved the whole murder thing too. Let's not skip over that. Inspector Dreamer on the case.
That is next. He thinks he's close to figuring out who did it, but we see another tremendous segment where, it's a cliffhanger. Havoc is the prime suspect right now as to who shot Johnny Bravo.
It's right there in her name, Havoc.
And I guess we'll leave that there.
Dave, nothing. Dave, why you so silent on that?
I think we lost Dave, ladies and gentlemen.
No. It's just, he said that it's down to these 10 people, which were the same 10 people that were there last week.
That's what's great about it.
They got to find out soon.
I love the Jim Mitchell. I thought the Jim Mitchell segment, because of him. I'm just, whenever he talks, he's one of those guys you listen to because you're going to get a little gem of wisdom. I like what they're doing. I think they need a wrestling detective on the case is what they need. But since they don't have a wrestling detective, here's where you can find a wrestling detective tomorrow. Talking Shopomania 2.
What?
The Rise of the Torturer. The wrestling detective Gregory Helms makes his debut, and that's live on pay-per-view. That's tomorrow, Friday the 13th, 2020. What could go wrong in 2020 on Friday the fucking 13th? I'm going to give you a hint.
By the way,
somebody's going to die, and there's going to be a wrestling detective on the case.
And I believe that's going to be available right here on Fight TV.
Right here, Fight TV.
Huh. Talking Shop on Mania 2, did they guarantee somebody dies?
Most definitely.
Just brush that off. That's fine. Yeah.
Not only killing the business, killing actual human beings.
I hope we see Thaddeus Long again.
You will.
I just want to see Paul Lee. That's what I
will. You will.
Fantastic. Yes.
But most important, you're going to see the wrestling detective.
Correct. That's all that matters. You've had a pretty busy, 10 days, then, haven't you?
How would you compare to Matlock or Bullock? Not Matlock. I meant Columbo. Columbo. That's what I meant.
Motherfucker, I'm the wrestling detective. I'm better than all that shit. Everything you're trying to say, Perry Mason, Matlock, Columbo, all them bitches. Well, Sherlock Helms, a.k.a. wrestling detective Gregory Helms, is on the case.
Here, folks. Sorry about that. We struck a chord. All right, the ending. It was a no contest. Carl Anderson and Josh Alexander, again, shenanigans in this matchup, David Hero. But you know what? This Saturday, and we missed this. It's Turning Point. It's a special show from Impact Wrestling.
It is, and I think it's on the app, correct? That's where you get to see it on the Impact app.
TV. Absolutely.
Yes, that's going to be fantastic. You know what? It was a good match. Anderson and Alexander, the double A's. But you know who really shined in that was Big LG. You could not knock him down to save your soul. He was definitely there to fight.
I'm glad Carl Anderson got his gear back. I know that. I'm glad the airline finally found his gear bag and he got out of those John Cena shorts and he's back in his wrestling gear. This was a reminder of how good Carl Anderson from New Japan at one time was one of the premier single wrestlers in the world. Then he got with Gallows and they become one of the premier tag teams in the world. Don't forget how good he was as a singles competitor. And Alexander brought that out in him, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, folks, there was a lot of wrestling this week, a lot of good wrestling. We go next week as a Survivor Series from WWE, an interesting team on the Raw side, an interesting team developing on the SmackDown side. We'll talk about that more as the time draws nearer, but Full Gear, Dynamite, Impact, NXT, substantial things happening on each show. If you would summarize it, Full Gear, probably the best wrestling show we've seen this year, on par with that of Revolution from AEW, and also NXT delivering a brand new North American champion, which probably will be short-lived. Dynamite following up with that big reveal of Shaq coming to the organization. And Impact Wrestling, we don't know who shot Johnny Bravo, but we have a prime suspect, a big week so far in wrestling. Gentlemen, how would you summarize and what would be your parting comments for our viewing audience here tonight?
There was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of shenanigans this past week, a lot of wrestling. And hey, and if you get a chance, check out OVW Overdrive Saturday. You will see the Overdrive debut of the Fanny Pack Kid, Cal Hero, as well.
Ah, really? National television debut?
How about that, huh? Who would have thought?
Yeah. We would have, because we know you. But, I'm looking forward to that, and I thought there was not only a lot of wrestling, I thought there was a lot of really good wrestling between the shows we talked about. Full Gear and NXT, Dynamite, Impact, those 4 shows I thought were just wins all across the board. I mean, absolutely. We had a really good week this week.
And, we take for granted, and sometimes we may say in jest things about the wrestling business, but something we said as we entered this COVID environment is the amazing efforts that all the wrestling companies are putting on right now is something that should not be lost. And whether it's great, whether it's tremendous, whether it's okay, whether it's bad in your opinion, there are a lot of people taking a lot of risks to entertain us on a weekly basis across multiple brands and multiple shows. And for that, we are and will be forever in their debt. As with anything, though, there's some things you love, some things you don't love as much. And it's fair to address those things, but it's also fair to appreciate the sacrifices and the just logistical nightmare that exists. I mean, I think Dynamite basically broadcast during a hurricane last night. Not you, Shane. You were there Saturday. But Hurricane Ita, which is, I think, the last of the most named storms we've had in a year since records were kept. But and they acknowledged it, by the way. They had fun with it. So that was good. But
let's acknowledge those nice little good comments there in the comment section too there from Batman Beyond. You know, I think he specifically had a good comment.
Yes, indeed. Several comments, including asking when we're going to have the Shenanigans Los Angeles party. He also
we do need a Shenanigans party.
Hurricane was the biggest surprise in wrestling this week, and that is indeed the case. And he's also right here on the Pro Wrestling Report each and every Thursday night, 7 o'clock p.m. live on Fight TV, where you can also watch Impact Wrestling and AEW overseas.
There was a new highway to Helms today, wasn't there? Or yesterday?
Came out Tuesday. I'm trying to get back on track because I have been busy getting out of whack. So I try to do Highway to Helms a little bit early in the week to separate from the Super Show, give us a little bit of distance. But yeah, Highway to Helms still drops every Tuesday now, so check it out in podcast form.
You got to keep them separated. Doom, 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 doom.
Nice,
as well, Batman Beyond 23. Once the dust settles on what and where WrestleMania will be next year, we are looking very forward to hosting our next Shenanigans party with Kevin Nash. And of course, you can always count on Shane Helms being there as well. Whether you see him or not is a different story, but he will be there at the Shenanigans party. So, guys, what a show! We are 35 minutes over, and that's absolutely fine. You remember
well, it's fine.
When I do it, it's fine.
So that pre-show lecture was for nothing?
That wasn't a lecture. We talked about next week. We talked about the time constraints I did impose on ourselves this week, and we exceeded them. And I'd like to apologize for Shane for taking more of his time than I committed to taking here on this broadcast tonight.
No, I'm good. You're the one that always goes, "Hey, let's go this amount," and then we never do. So I don't even know why you even say that. We need to just skip that step because we go basically the same amount of time every week anyway. Especially when we have 4 shows. We didn't have just a 3. We had a pay-per-view too. You know it's going to go long.
I'd like to give back.
And it's entertaining. As long as it's good. I don't care. If it's long and boring, that's when we got to cut it off. But I think it was long and we give it some good shit.
And luckily, Dave didn't talk much tonight, so you're right. We weren't long and boring, so that's really, really good. So be sure.
You keep muting me every 2 minutes. That mute button pops up on my.
Well, I have control.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you all for joining us. Thank you socially for joining us here as well. And if you're watching us in the archives, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, be sure to share the show and join us and share with your friends. And we appreciate all of you who tune in. And we do this for the love of the game, the love of the business. And we look forward to joining you next week, where we are also going to be the book preview the Survivor Series. And that should be fun. Let's not lose sight of the fact that over the last several years, Survivor Series has been a newsworthy pay-per-view from WWE as they set the stage for the Rumble and Mania.
No. This year is literally Clash of the Champions, more than Clash of the Champions ever was.
Yeah, very true. All right, David, thank you so much. Shane, thank you so much. Audience, thank you so much. For all of us here at the Pro Wrestling Report, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to you joining us again next Thursday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Fight TV. Like you mean it.